So welcome everybody. And again, congratulations on your acceptance to the MEng program. It's a huge accomplishment and we're so happy that you joined us this morning to learn a little bit more about the career development team. We have a very diverse group of people with us today. We have people register from Nigeria, Singapore, Italy, Canada, France, Switzerland, I see on here, China, in the United States, just to name a few. Interesting to see all your names in the chat and people with work experience, without work experience. We typically have a lot of people coming straight from undergrad into this program, so we're definitely seeing that trend. So today we hope to answer many of your career-related questions. We know it's a big decision for you, and we want to give you as much information as possible and hopefully make that decision a little bit easier. Before we go into all of our content, I wanted to make sure that the career team gets a chance to introduce ourselves. Um, and the team consists of myself, Dione Rivera, Lisa Mandac. I am the Director of Career Development and Alumni Relations at the Fung Institute, and I've been working at the Fung Institute since the first cohorts. I've been working with engineers for a really long time. I love this area. I love working in the tech community. And I'm really passionate about helping people leverage their strengths to find their next step in the career that they love. And working in the engineering community is also a pleasure because we need engineering leaders now more than ever. Um, I will pass it over to Dione, let her say hi, and then Alicia.
Can't find my mute button, but hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you are admitted to the MEng program, one of the best programs here at the College of Engineering for a master's. And I've been working with the Fung Institute for 6 years now, and I love helping students find their way through the careers and the journeys that they would like to achieve. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Alicia. So I have been with the Fung Institute Career Development Team for over 3 years now, going on 4 years. And I just really love supporting students in this role professionally, both in their personal and professional development. And I would say probably one of my favorite things that I get to do as a career advisor and career coach is to really help you all build confidence to tell your story so that you can ace those interviews and get those jobs. So I really find a lot of inspiration in working with MEng students. And so I'm looking forward to meeting you all and working with you all in the coming year. And Julie, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you both. So for the next 15 minutes, we're going to give you a preview of what the MEng team does and how we support MEng students. Just like our students never stop innovating, we innovate as well. Year after year, we're always building on our programming. So I'm going to outline the three areas that we focus in the career development program. We are looking to help students develop their professional skills and have opportunities to explore career paths and career trajectories and connect with our partnership network and our alumni community. We hope that students take advantage of all these areas while they're in the program. And really exit the program with strong professional skills, that they were able to find a mentor while they're in the program and take advantage of all the leadership opportunities that we offer, along with exploration, both in and out of the classroom to discover your next step. We will have plenty of time for questions. We'll have a student panel at the end. But throughout the presentation, feel free to drop questions in the chat, and we hope that we can get to all of your questions today. So if you choose the MEng program, your next step, really starts now. Every opportunity, including this one, is an opportunity to advance your career, meet your career goals. We really focus on connecting the cohort together and connecting the cohort or students to the broader MEng community. Um, and if you join the program, we start working with students over the summer. We want to make sure that when you start the program in August, you're able to put your best foot forward, and take advantage of everything that Berkeley has to offer. We host targeted professional webinars over the summer, and we start in mid-June and end just before boot camp. Um, in addition to our skills, our programming, you'll also have access to everything that the campus has to offer. So Berkeley has a top tier career center on campus that runs career fairs. There's very active student organizations that a lot of our MEng students get involved with. There's other institutes on campus that we're connected to. And Berkeley also has a very strong startup ecosystem. And our students really enjoy getting plugged into that program and those opportunities. Um, so our goal is to meet you wherever you're at and whatever your goals. We want to help you find the resources and the connections to build a path forward for yourself, whether that's becoming an entrepreneur, continuing your education, or getting that first job after the MEng program. So really, we want to not only help you build skills next year to achieve those goals, but we want to make sure that you have these skills throughout your entire career. So when people graduate this program, they're able to launch a successful job search at any point in their career. So this slide shows a little bit of our approach to career development and how we work with students. Like anything, really in life and in this program, you get out as much as you put into it. So it's really about taking the initiative to take advantage of these opportunities. We use a career coaching model in the Fung Institute to help you move forward in your career exploration and your goal setting. Our programming covers an array of different topics in the job search cycle, and you can plug in at any point that you need assistance in your job search. But after working with us, our goal is not only can you write a resume, but you can write it at any point in your career. You know how to pull these documents together and write a targeted application materials. You'll have strong networking skills. You'll know how to negotiate a compensation package that's right for you and your market value. You'll understand the job market and recruiting cycles. And we do this through one-on-one coaching. So the entire career team is available to MEng students at any point. You can make appointments with us and meet one-on-one to answer your questions. We have the workshops that I mentioned that start over the summer, but they continue throughout the year, where we talk about professional development and job search fundamentals. And you'll also find opportunities in the classroom. Everything in the MEng program is highly integrated, whether it's the capstone experience or the leadership courses. We give you opportunities to think a little bit deeper in all of these areas, think about how they connect and how you can move forward in your career, telling these stories and utilizing these skills. Um, Something else that we're really proud of is creating an atmosphere where everybody's working together, where we're building community, and it's an inclusive experience where you're working with your peers too, throughout your career exploration here. And there's many opportunities that we'll talk about a little bit later on how we get people connected and working together on these goals. Um, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alicia to actually talk a little bit more about these student experiences and career exploration.
Thanks, Julie. So on this next slide, you can see we're going to have a couple quotes from some of our more recent alums. So Zach was an alum from 2022. So I won't spend time reading out the whole thing out loud. You can take time and read it yourself. And when you get the slides, we'll post them online. You can take a look. But something to really highlight in this particular quote is to see how there was a combination of both what this person was doing in their leadership course and then how they were engaging with us in the career development team. So talking about what their dream role was at Apple, and then sort of almost manifesting it in a way by working with the career team. I worked with him particularly in terms of tailoring your resume and going to these networking events. And so this is a great example of weaving through all of the different aspects of not just the career development support that you get from the program, but the leadership and the curriculum to help somebody land what is now their dream role. And he's been working at Apple for a couple years. So just a really great example of integrating all that the MEng program has to offer. And then the next slides are just a couple more from our alumni who really engage with our career workshops. So like Julie said, we have a host of career workshops that we run throughout the course of the 2 semesters in this program. And our goal is to both help you explore your career interests, but also do a little skill development, build some confidence, gain some support, so that you can really hone those skills when you are in the interview process and even all the way into negotiation and landing that job. So these are 2 examples of students that really utilized and engaged our services and found some success with that. So Julie talked about sort of the preparation part of the career development. And so another area of focus is really kind of career exploration. And so it's common when you come into the MEng program to kind of have an idea of what you might want to pursue in terms of a career, but that can change. And we actually really encourage people to stay open to exploring and that being a really important part of the whole process, so that you can help to clarify and maybe refine or maybe even change what those goals are. And that's what we're here to help you do. So like Julie talked about, it starts in the summer. So we host a whole series of webinars, which is hosted by ourselves, the career development team, and also our MEng alumni and some industry professionals as well, that we bring in to help you explore different industries, provide some professional skill development like resume writing. We talked about LinkedIn, and also talk about current topics such as hiring and employment trends. And then when we get into orientation and boot camp, we have our career lab series, more in terms of skill development, elevator pitch, job search strategies, helping you prepare for behavioral interviews. So you can see that it's a real combo of both career exploration and also skill development. And we bring alumni into these workshops as well. One way in which our alumni really engage with us is through a unique platform called My Berkeley FI Connect. And this is sort of like our internal LinkedIn platform, where you will be able to connect with our large population of alumni. I think we're at over 2,500, even just on this My Berkeley Connect platform. And this is also where we host, we give job information, so jobs that people from the industry or alumni share with us that just want to be shared with the MEng community, where sometimes you can't even find them anywhere else. We post them on our job board, and it's a way that you can connect and network with our alumni. Also importantly, on this platform are 2 really of our signature programs that we host through the MEng program. And so one is our affinity group program that I'll talk about more in a second, and then our industry mentorship initiative that you'll hear from Dione about in a second as well. So these are the 2 programs that really help you connect with community, find mentorship, and really build out that network that we know is so crucial to your career development and your job search success. So more information to come on those as well. And then lastly, there's an extensive startup system within the Berkeley community, and we, as the MEng program, are really tapped into it. I know one of our panelists has really been engaging with it through his entire time here. So you'll hear more about the ways in which we're also connected to the startup world, one of which is Skydeck, which is Berkeley's exclusive incubator for startups. And then Affinity group program. So, like I said, one of our signature programs is our affinity group program. So, this is a way to connect with the MEng community and build your networks. They are career-focused groups that share common interests. So, this year we had 12 different affinity groups, and they range in topics. So, we have biotech, entrepreneurship, consulting, sustainable energy, transportation. And what these groups do is that they are led by current MEng students, and they focus on creating community and offer spaces to support and learn from each other and connect with people who have similar career interests. So what you see here in the picture on this slide is one of our affinity groups, our robotics group that hosted a site visit to NVIDIA in Santa Clara. So they took a group of students down there to tour the facilities and connect with the NVIDIA team. We have some alumni there, and so really capitalizing on the Berkeley MEng alumni to go to some really exciting site visits. And then we got on the next slide just a couple more pictures from our affinity group events here. So again, a way to find community, a way to build your networks amongst the peers. The picture that you see on the right, so some of these affinity groups will bring in people from the industry. So this is, again, our robotics affinity group where the students had a chance to meet an entrepreneur who's in the robotics field and even see the product up close. So you can see that robotic arm in the picture there. So as you are kind of exploring everything that the MEng program has to offer you, I do encourage you to connect with our affinity group leaders. You can do so through the MEng new admit webpage. There should be a link to our affinity group program. You'll find all of their bios and their contact information. You can find a lot of them on LinkedIn as well. And then just last little heads up, if you are somebody that is interested in becoming an affinity group leader, we do start the search in the summer. Applications will open in the summer. And so just keep an eye out for that if you're more interested in actually learning how or what you need to do to become an affinity group leader. So that's all I got for the affinity groups. I'm going to turn it over to Dione to give a little bit more about our next pillar of our career development program.
Yes, thank you, Alicia. So, our third area of focus is connecting. You'll have a lot of opportunities to apply and practice your networking skills with a community of alumni and industry partners that want to help you succeed. And you'll meet a couple of our alumni during the panel. And I'm sure they'll share with you how the network has really, built this robust community. You can also expect events and activities like office hours with the alumni and our industry partners. We do have tech talks and info sessions that help you talk to the industry, the founders, so that you can get to know more about the company and their technology. And we also have impactful design challenges that really test your skills and help you connect with the broad community of Berkeley students and sometimes even outside of that. In addition, we have strong relationships with the Berkeley Skydeck, as what Alicia shared, because they recruit and prepare students in their startup program, and MEng students have always been active in that area. From all of these, I want to specifically highlight the Industry Mentorship Initiative. So one of the best programs you can join as an MEng student is our mentorship program. Our alumni are eager to help you figure out your career goals, guide you through your studies, and share valuable industry insights. You'll be part of a lively community of technical leaders and innovators who really, dig down deep and share their experiences and insights about how you might be able to prepare for um, different roles and careers that you're thinking about or exploring, as well as you can ask them about advice with industry trends. The program runs twice a year, giving you the chance to build meaningful connections that will last beyond graduation. These relationships can provide ongoing support and networking opportunities as you move forward to your career. And speaking of moving forward to your career and graduating, we want to share with you, where do alumni go after they successfully complete the program? All students who graduate will complete a career destination survey that help us summarize postgraduate activities, which is aggregated and shared in the employment page of the Fang Institute. We'll share this link with you so that you can also explore the different programs, concentrations, and where do they go after graduation. So in the next slide, you will see where did the class of 2024 go to. They went on to diverse career paths as founders, technical leaders in software, data, and product management. There's also a strong presence of alumni working in big tech companies such as Google, Apple, and Meta. They study in top universities and institutions after the program, and they work in companies that drive strategic initiatives with consulting firms. If you want to take a deeper dive, again, we'll share those links to you so that you can look into the employment data of our previous graduates. Now, I would like to give it or pass it to Julie to share more about some of the interesting details that you will want to learn more about after graduation.
Thank you, Dione. So on our website right now, you'll see a whole archive of career data going back many years. The most recent data on our website is from the class of 2023. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek into our data from the class of 2024. So this is the most recent information. It should be on the website within the next month. We spend 6+ months collecting the data and then synthesizing it. So we're always kind of, there's always like a lag time between when we post our data. But for these purposes, again, we know you're making a big decision and we like to give you as much information as we can. So again, this isn't on the website yet. It's a sneak peek into the data that we're collecting for the class of 2024. So to give you an idea, um, of the data that we have collected, 88% of MEng students stay and work in the United States. And that's a pretty telling figure since we have people come from all over the world to come to the MEng program. Many people find themselves in California and the Bay Area, and they decide they want to stay. International students have access to OPT and then the STEM extension, and many take advantage of that after the program. There's also other career paths that students go on to take, and we've mentioned this a little bit already. But a lot of people continue their education. It's not the majority, but in the class of 2024, 14 continued onto a PhD or an MBA program. So it is possible to do your MEng and then continue on to further education. There are also people each year that will spin out a company, sometimes from their capstone projects, sometimes from another idea that they had in a different class, and utilizing the resources at Berkeley decide to start a company after the program. So that's always exciting to see the different avenues that students decide to take. Like I mentioned, people do like to stay in California. It's a nice place to be. 55% of our graduates decide to stay and work in California. Some of the biggest areas, as you saw on that slide previously, are big tech, biotech and life sciences, automotive, consulting. Those are some of the biggest industries, followed by e-commerce and energy. It's nice that so many alumni stay in our time zone, and that's why they're so engaged. Is the programming that Alicia and Dione went over. We have a lot of alumni that are participating. They're in our time zone. They're local. They're coming to our events. So that's really nice that we have that. Some of our biggest employers from last year included Amazon and Apple, Meta, Google, Tesla. A new employer was TSMC. So we actually had almost 20 students go to Arizona for some openings at the two new TSMC factory there. So it's always exciting to see what new trends are happening too. And this is a question that everyone always has. around salary. So I talked a lot about California. So I'm sticking with that theme. The average salary that we're seeing from the class of 2024 is $117,000 and an average signing bonus that people reported in California. So this is important for people as they're making their decisions, of course. But with that, it's very important to know that salaries have a wide range, especially in the MEng program. People go into a variety of different jobs, roles, industries, location. This will all affect starting salary. Prior work experience goes into it as well, and the market's always changing. So like I talked about before, we're here to help you understand your market value, no matter where you're going. The starting salary in Austin, Texas is going to be very different than Boston or Duluth, Minnesota, or the Bay Area. The different industries that people go into will also see a wide range in the different type of engineering roles. So, we always encourage people to work with us when they're negotiating their salary, use our resources to understand the market value. But this gives you a little bit of an idea of what starting salaries look like after the program. And as I wrap up my talk, I want to encourage you to start thinking about what you might do after the MEng program. We talked about our three areas where we work with students, developing professional skills to be successful, exploring different career paths, and finding mentors while you're in the program, and connecting to our alumni community and our partnership network. So these logos represent a lot of different partnerships that we have, from capstone partners to partners that we've worked with on design challenges, such as Apple, or the site visits that Alicia was mentioning. We've gone to Tesla and NVIDIA, or some of the top employers from our program. So it's exciting opportunities, and again, I want you to kind of start thinking about how you would leverage the program and these opportunities, and think about how you might start working with the career team over the summer, so we can help you take that next step. So thank you for listening to my portion of today. But now I am going to turn it back over to Alicia for our student and alumni panel, and we can get some of your questions answered directly by them.
Sure. So we'll move on to the panel part of our workshop for today, our session for today. So if I could have the panelists all get on camera here, and then we'll get you spotlighted, and then I'm going to introduce each of them as we start. So first we have Kai, who is a current MEng student, and Kai initially came to Berkeley to sharpen his engineering expertise and position himself at the cutting edge of the semiconductor technology industry. However, during his time at Berkeley, Kai discovered a deep passion for startups and entrepreneurship, and as a result, he has chosen to pursue his own startup rather than pursuing a traditional role within the semiconductor industry. And then we have Savita, who is also a current MEng student, mechanical engineer major with a focus in product design. And she is passionate about human-centered design in medical solutions and making engineering more inclusive and accessible. Her capstone project focuses on using parametric CAD modeling to design orthotic footwear. And in her free time, Savita loves to write film music, play indie video games with friends. I would love to know what those indie video games are. Darshan is one of our alumni from 2018, a mechanical engineering graduate from the MEng program. And he has worked as a UX researcher and a software product manager at companies like MathWorks, Meta, Unity, and is currently a Gen I product manager at AT&T. And then lastly, we have Pranay, who is also one of our alumni. And Pranay is currently the chief AI officer at a stealth startup and principal researcher at Berkeley, where he focuses on advancing general AI agents through multimodal foundation models. Previous experiences include AI research at JP Morgan and working on machine learning systems at Royal Dutch Shell. And he attributes his time in the MEng program to shaping his approach to AI research and leadership. So I'd like to give all of our a big welcome to all of our panelists. Thank you so much for taking the time out this morning to talk with us. So as a reminder for those in the audience, if you have questions, please feel free to add them to the chat as we go. And we'll start off first with some questions that we have for our panelists. So we're going to start with Kai. So Kai, as you mentioned in your bio, you were initially interested in the semiconductor industry, and now you're moving towards leading your own startup. So can you talk a little bit about how the MEng experience has influenced the shifting of your career goals?
Yeah, absolutely. So just want to say first off, I'm probably MEng's biggest fan. I don't want to graduate. It's so fun. The program is so fun. Yeah, so I worked actually for 6 years before I came to Berkeley. I did 5 years in the semiconductor industry doing machine design as a mechanical engineer. And then I did another year doing product design, like in the consumer electronics industry. And originally I felt very stagnant and didn't know, kind of paralyzed, knew I needed to do something in my career. And so I started, doing some initial research. And I was like, oh, I'll just kind of try to propel myself to sort of the edge of semiconductor tech. Um, and so what I did was I applied to a bunch of MSs, and then I was going to apply to Berkeley. Berkeley had no MS for material science. I'm an MSE. Go MSE.
Mm.
And so I applied to the MEng program, and I was kind of set on doing a thesis actually. So MEng was actually low on my list for schools, but I'd gotten accepted. And basically, when it was time to make a decision, I spent, several days just doing hardcore research, trying to figure out, what my next step was going to be. And I realized that if to get to where I wanted to be, I probably needed to do a PhD. So, knowing that, I think, MEng started to become a little more attractive to me because I don't think I didn't think the PhD was for me. And MEng kind of provided an opportunity to get more of a, some business experience. So one kind of revelation I had was maybe I'm not that into engineering as I thought, right? And so MEng gives you an opportunity to sort of take your engineering talents and then combine them with like leadership skills. So I'm taking all of those. I'm full sending a startup after after I graduate. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm really excited, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Awesome. Thank you, Kai. Glad to know you are our biggest fan. All right, Savita, for you, you are one of our affinity group leaders. Kai actually is also one of our affinity group leaders. So the program, like we talked about, is one of our signature career development programs. And so I'd love if you could share just a little bit about your experience as an affinity group leader and how it's contributing to your own professional growth.
Yeah, hi everyone. Honestly, yeah, being an affinity group leader has been a really fun experience. As Alicia said, I'm the leader for the inclusive technology group. And what I really like is you basically have creative freedom to design the group however you want. So it can really focus on what you want the group to focus on. And you're able to host events that you actually find interesting and that you care about. So for example, for inclusive technology, so far we've had a roundtable social event where we discussed like inclusion, accessibility, and diversity in technology engineering, which are topics that I find really interesting. And I got to meet a lot of the other students in my cohort who also found those interesting as well. And then we had a mental health in tech event where we had a guest speaker from Tesla who was able to come in and share his experiences managing his mental health in a pretty intense company like Tesla, but also offer experiences from people who were from other parts of industry, other types of companies who had different experiences managing their time and their taking care of themselves. So that was really great. We were also really lucky to have Alicia share her experiences as a therapist and how we can apply different practices in our professional lives. So yeah, it really is like your playground to come up with some very cool opportunities for both yourself as well as your other classmates as well. Some other affinity group events that I've attended this year included hikes, group hiking. I like hiking a lot. Also pizza socials, and I think a highlight this semester was a site visit to the Tesla factory. And in terms of professional growth, it has really helped me grow, especially as somebody who was uncomfortable with like networking and public speaking in the beginning, because it kind of forces you to find those connections and like pitch your ideas for your group to like other people, like professionals, but also your other classmates as well. So essentially, me signing up to be an affinity group leader was me just forcing myself to learn how to network because I would have no other choice and to then learn those skills because then they really become useful in job search and just beyond in your professional development. So it's a great way to meet people in industry because I've noticed professionals really want to help out Berkeley students and they're really happy to volunteer to be guest speakers. And it's also just great for making friends. Like I've made a lot of good friends through this initiative. So yeah.
Thanks, Savita. And really shout out to Savita because we have 12 affinity groups and she's the only one that's leading her own affinity group by herself because most of them have co-leaders. So you really pushed yourself to stretch those leadership skills. So all right. Darshan, up to you now. So, while you were in the MEng program, we know that you made use of various supports from the career development team. And now, 7 years later, I'm just curious how you've leveraged your MEng experience in your career as your career has grown.
Totally. So I think one of the larger learnings that I had from like the MS program, and this is also like reflecting as like an international student, like there's a little bit of like a cultural gap between like how things work back home and how things work back here. And I think with some of like a lot of the networking opportunities or just like being part of like communications 101, right? Like some of those courses sort of like I would say like really helped position myself sort of like in like within people from the industry sort of a thing. And I feel like that is like the one piece that was like super helpful, like meeting people, just overall like networking, because I feel like there are some additional hurdles I feel like as an international student, right, like that with the visa processes and stuff. So I feel like the networking piece really helps sort of like cut through some of that. And also like I think advice from like professors around like navigating the career path I feel like has been like really helpful. So I would say like those were sort of like the key things that have sort of like led me so far.
Yeah. Awesome. And we're seeing a big theme here of the program really introducing you to people and building those networks and developing communities and helping you kind of refine even the direction that you want to go. So I'm glad to hear that that's been a theme for you, Darshan. All right, Pranay. So as we've talked about your MEng experience and you talked about how the program really exposed you to more than you had expected. So I'd love to hear what were some of your unexpected outcomes of the program for you.
Hey everyone. Hey Alicia. Yeah, so I came into the program I wasn't sure if I was going to get accepted into any master's program. Ended up getting accepted into a lot. And I chose Berkeley after probably weeks of thinking of it being an option. And that was really because there were a lot of not only courses and professors who led those courses that were what I was most drawn towards. The capstone project and the professors and people I got to work with there were absolutely fantastic. So a lot of going into it was seeing that there were some moments where I remember I'd be sitting in like Bear, which is Berkeley AI Research, waiting to talk to a professor. I'd see just right over the neighboring professor's door, and name would be someone who like I've been reading their papers, and that's like the only way that I've known of them. So it was a surreal feeling in a sense that the professor was also sleeping inside, so it's funny. Um, in really humanizing someone that's like legend in their field. So uh, I was probably super nervous during every one of these encounters, but I really pushed for what is a sense of my goal, and who are the types of people at this program that not only could help me get there, but were like good people, and that there would be a mutually beneficial relationship. And so I went to Berkeley and really the Fung staff, faculty, and I'm a EECS graduate, by the way, from 2020, and the professors that were top notch throughout every single one of my courses, and my advisor Don Song, as well as her postdoc, who's a professor now. These people were not only just incredibly intelligent and hardworking, but they're also very kind and humble. So I tell people all the time that Bergs was the most humbling experience of my life, being an MEng and working with professors. I don't think that I can really be too. There's levels to this, and there somehow a lot of them are on a different level, but they have really uh, been fundamental in giving me the confidence that I had once lacked by their reception towards my work and effort. So it's not by any means the easiest program, and I'm glad that it wasn't. And you can challenge yourself however you see fit. And the more I think you challenge yourself, the more your outcomes will like present themselves to you. And I think that the Career Service Center, um, and everyone involved has been super supportive. The previous director is like almost a second dad to me, just an absolutely wonderful guy. And really, from the standpoint of a professional engineering degree, not only have I done quite a bit in the professional realm, that hasn't by any means taken away from research or academia. So I had professors, multiple of them, within the College of Engineering, write me letter of recommendations for PhD programs at Berkeley and Mila and elsewhere. Had acceptances, but then chose to work at JP Morgan AI Research for a PhD only level role, where I was asked during my eighth round interview, why aren't you getting a PhD? And I was like, well, this is the type of role that people get PhDs to try to get. And again, it's just you can really make whatever you want out of it, but going to the program, by no means did I ever expect to achieve or attain what I did. So it's like Steve Jobs' commencement speech with the whole connecting the dots. I didn't even know what the dots were going forwards. They just presented themselves to me through this program afterwards. And then in hindsight, it's still kind of surreal to see the connection of them happening. You really just have to be a part of a program, and not to dismiss any, or not to forget that a lot of my closest friends, even to this day, I made through Berkeley MEng. Regardless of where they are or I am, they don't know what time zone I'm in half the time because I travel a lot. A lot of them are some of my close friends, and they're a huge support network during the program and afterwards for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, so really highlighting also the network of faculty and the exposure that you got to the faculty here at Berkeley. So not only is it the connection to the industry and to your peers, but the faculty as well. So thank you, Pranay. All right, so we're going to open up to some questions in the chat here, and maybe if we can have Julie come back on as well, so she can help with some of the questions. Dione, you can spotlight Julie. And there's been some themes and questions that we got submitted. So we'll start with a pre-submitted question, and then maybe Dione, I'll ask for your help for some of the questions in the chat. But there's a theme in our questions that we got from our registration that really had to do with international students getting jobs. And one in which, in terms of, what is some advice that you'd have about what resources to really make use of for, particularly for international students as they are in their job search here in the MEng program? And Darshan, I know that you were an international student while you were in our program, so I'm wondering if you can start us off on that conversation.
I would say okay, as an international student, I feel it gets a little bit tricky in the sense that like some of the networks, even though they want to help you, may not be able to help you because they are blocked from like company policy. Like it's just the way the world is, right? Like if you're a defense company, you can't hire international students. Like it's the rule.
Mhm.
So like that's where I would encourage like the existing batch of like students who are doing like a job search to like reach beyond sort of like the networks that they have access to. So like reach out to people on LinkedIn, like cold email them, cold message them, like reach out to like get contacts from people around people that were hiring. And I think there's like the Berkeley internal the Berkeley LinkedIn group. I forgot what it's called, but I do know that like people post in there, right? So like leverage those contacts, right? And also note that like a lot of times like you'll reach out to the employer through like maybe two hops or even like three hops. So let's say a person posts on like the LinkedIn, the MNG LinkedIn group about a job at like, I don't know, Scale AI or something. It's not exactly what you're looking for, but then like go to the Scale AI website, see if there are other roles that you like, reach out to this person to see if they can like put you in contact with the manager, right? So I would like leverage that, like those angles as well, and not just like going for like just applying on the website or like, oh, like I don't like, so like reach out to those like second level, third level connections, and like broaden your search, right? You want to increase the odds of like conversion, right, as opposed to just being like stop at the first level. Yeah.
So kind of like widening, casting a broader net with the connections that
Broaden
you have. Yeah,
it.
that's great. Julie, I wonder if you can add to anything in terms of like advice for international students.
Yeah, I would kind of just echo what Darshan is saying. For our international students, they've been highly successful in finding employment in the United States. There may be some roadblocks, like Darshan pointed out, which just means maybe your international students are applying to more jobs, hustling a little bit more to find those opportunities. But there are also resources that can help you. Like Going Global is a resource that students have access to that tells you what companies in the past have sponsored international students. So that gives you a good idea of maybe where to target. Looking to see where our alumni are working, what companies they're working at, and targeting those organizations. Um, and then, of course, working with our team because we can help students think about how to talk about their work authorization. So sometimes just going into the situation, understanding what work authorization you do have, how to explain it. Sometimes when you're going into startups, they're not familiar with OPT and the STEM extension, and that they actually don't have to do anything. So being able to advocate for yourself, and that's something that we really help students with and encourage. We partner closely with the Berkeley International Office, which is the go-to place for all things work authorization and visa related. But we bring them in for workshops to make sure that the students are up to date on all this information. So they have it at their fingertips and students can really advocate for themselves.
Thank you. And I'm wondering if either Kai or Savita, from sort of working and connecting with your peers, if you have any other things that you would add.
I'll go. Yeah, so I mean, there's like a bazillion networking opportunities. So, and I try to take advantage of as many as possible. There's times where your schedule's really busy, um, but these networking opportunities are actually a nice outlet to kind of, you know, take a breather. You're just talking to people. And the more of these you go to, the more people you meet, and the higher the chance that you're going to find that, one connection that can kind of push you through, get you an interview somewhere. So, yeah, take advantage of all the events happening on campus.
I think one thing I'll add to that is that Yeah, the networking events are really great. It's good to come in with a story or like a personal mission that you have about what you want to pursue or something within the industry that you care about, as a way to connect to other people, because then they really get to know you and what you care about, and that's more helpful for building on those connections a lot later. So, yeah.
Yeah, knowing how to tell your story is so important, and that's one of the things that we certainly support students on, both in terms of workshop format, but also one-on-one as well in our coaching. So thank you all. All right, Dione, any questions that are standing out to you in the chat that would be good for the panelists?
Yes, I do have two questions here, but and they're directed to two different alumni
Okay.
speakers. So, but I there's a lot of questions, so it got flooded. So I have to search for one.
Okay.
Uh, so where that might be, there's one for Pranay. Um, Pranay, I'm sorry. Let me pull that up. It got buried. Um, Hold on. And thank you as well to the other panelists who have answered questions on the chat. That's awesome because that helps when responding to questions. But yes, let me get to the question for Pranay. Do you think that 1 year was enough time to specialize in AI? And is it easy to get the classes that you want?
It depends on how you spend your year. So there are people that spend a year doing something and they work hard and they don't work very smart and they get pretty far still. Um, then there are those that work average and not very smart and they get pretty average results. I'd say working smart is very, very hard, and it's something that I try to, like, I'm dealing with every single day, every single hour of my life. Um, but there were some instances where I worked smart by pushing through significant anxiety that you may or may not face in terms of like asking for a letter of recommendation from a professor that I might have known for 3 months, and then them responding in the most emphatically enthusiastic way that caught me off guard. And then they were like, "Oh, let me make sure you're doing well in my course first, even though I'm pretty sure you are." And checked, and I had perfect grades, sure. So I also spent a lot more time, and I did a lot of things not very intelligently. But I think I started to find that process. For graduate school, what they want to see is that not only can you do your technical work, it's really, I mean, for graduate school PhD programs, which I believe the question was about, if I recall correctly, the reason why I prefaced that with such a belabored answer was they want to see that you have the potential to innovate at the frontiers of the field collaboratively with them and their lab and other researchers. The best way to do that is to show that you have done that to them. So I personally had to go what some may say is out of my way. More so, classes were in the way of me wanting to do this instead at times. I published research while I was in graduate school. So conducted and published it. And that's more than most in what is a 9 to 10 month program. Uh, but I had the again the confidence factor of this being like trying to innovate in a field that is it itself kind of like at the edge of whatever, which kind of makes it a little bit easier to do so because no one knows what the hell is like going on with it. So kind of find one of those. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit, but you should start early, and if you should start early for sure, and just keep that in mind. So fortunately for my courses, I was able to do projects at the end. They were part of the course, and then uh, I had the mindset of, okay, well, let me do something that's research oriented that got published, so I can knock out two birds with one stone. So that's kind of like the working mark kind of methodology. And the second question, very quickly, was it easy? No, it was not. But damn, was it fun?
Yeah, I think that might be a theme through for a lot of our alumni and maybe even our current students sort of speaking to that as well. So it sounds like, getting the exposure to the type of research that you wanted to do was really beneficial. And I know, Kai, we had talked about also your capstone being something like your exposure to the capstone leading you to what you're interested in the startup as well. So it's sort of a little bit of a theme there.
Yep.
All right. So, let's see, we have a couple more minutes, maybe a couple more questions, Dione.
Yes, there was one question that Kai answered, but maybe it'll help other people to hear your response, Kai. So it goes, wondering what part of the program do you think has played the biggest role in your entrepreneurship? I think the question is really drilling into, what helped you decide to do and go into building your startup versus going to the more traditional path of looking for jobs and things like that.
Yeah, there's basically no better place on earth to start a startup than here at Berkeley. That there so my answer here was that the ecosystem is just insane. There's, the campus is crawling with investors. Everyone and their brother and sister are doing startups. There's founders everywhere. There's hackathons. There's pitch off competitions. There's constantly stuff going on. Um, there's classes at Haas. Like I'm doing a class, Lean Launchpad, where it's basically just an accelerator in the form of a class. So there's just teeming with opportunities. It's very exciting. There's a buzz here that I've never felt something like this before.
Yeah, that's
Thank
awesome.
you, Kai. And then there's another one that came in. How is the current scenario for robotics at Berkeley? Oops. And then it jumped. Um, are there a lot of robotics companies hiring from the MEng mechanical engineering program? And are there robotic startups steaming or stemming out from the school?
And maybe, Savita, you're ME, right? So you want to
Yeah,
start with this one?
yeah, for sure. I put a little bit about this in the chat, but
Awesome.
there are a lot of cool technical classes here that you can get a lot of hands-on skills that are all project-based. So you get to actually work on building robots and stuff. I didn't take the class, but a lot of my close friends in the program who are also mechies did robotic locomotion and controls and design. Um, I think, I don't know, maybe Kai can speak more to startups in robotics, but I've also seen a lot of companies at some of the career events who are specializing in robotics and looking to hire mechies. So
And is that what your path in terms of your ME path? Remind me, what was that? What is it that you're exploring?
I'm exploring more like assistive technology and biomechanics.
The
So slightly
medical.
different,
Mhm.
but there's kind of some overlap here. In fact, a couple capstone projects that are assistive robotics, so to help people carry weights and stuff. So some really cool projects in terms of robotics.
Yeah, yeah, and a really nice kind of representation of how even within the ME field, how broad of
Yes.
interests are. You know, you're sort of more in the assistive technology, and we have the sort of robotics industry. So, yeah, great representation of that. Maybe one more question, Dione, from the chat.
Yes. Um, where do students in ME advanced energy concentration end up working?
Ooh.
Oh, or maybe Savita, where do you find that your cohort goes to when you chat with them?
Yeah. Darshan, I saw you unmute, so maybe you want to start.
No, I had like a larger point here, which is like ultimately it's on like how you decide to like position yourself in your pitch and your background and your experience, right? Like I don't think like there is like I don't think like a particular, like if you're a mechanical engineer, like you're restricted to that field, right? So if you're in energy, I don't know, you could work for like Facebook mechanical, like as a mechanical engineer, like so like the scope is boundless, right? So I would more look at where do you want to be, and then try to position yourself best for that role, and I think that would work. Yeah, just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thank you, Darshan. Yeah, I mean, so much of our coaching, we really help to people to kind of strategize and figure out how they want to pivot themselves or position themselves towards the direction they want to go, but knowing that they're not confined based on just the department or the thing that they're studying. So yeah. All right, I think what we'll do, we have a lot of questions, so thank you to our panelists who are also typing in the responses in the chat as well. Maybe if our panelists are okay with it, sharing their contact information in the chat, maybe it's a LinkedIn or an email, so that people can follow up with them because we got a lot of questions, and these things always go by so fast. So we appreciate the panelists taking their time. And maybe what we'll do before we share our last slide, we go back to the panelists and just have each of our panelists will just take like a minute or two to share just one little piece of advice that you have for folks in this call as they are deciding on the MEng program, just what you would offer from your sort of vantage point, either as a current student or an alumni. So we'll kind of go in a little bit of reverse order. So Pranay, we'll start with you. Just a short, brief answer. What is a quick piece of advice that you would offer our people in the audience for today?
Come in with a goal in mind and don't neglect the social aspect, whether that be from staff who a lot of them I saw as friends at a certain point, um, and the boot camps that are before the actual courses are where I met and got close to a lot of people outside of my concentration. In my courses, I personally had one other MN student in terms of the EECS courses that I took, or EECS, double E, stat, whatever. There's only one other MN student. They ended up dropping out like 3 weeks in. But that was because I took a separate set of courses and I had to apply and go through a process to get into those. So that wasn't where I got support from MN students, aside from us studying together. But I did get support from the people in those courses quite a bit. Don't, yeah, you really focus on, like, realize that you'll be among some of like the brightest and hardest working people in the world, but also some of the nicest and most supportive. And all of those people know that they have not gotten there by themselves, and like almost ubiquitously they are willing to help if you're it's kind of sad that I have to say vulnerable enough, but if you're just like a human enough to be open to sharing that, and also providing that yourself, just as almost every single one of you would to other people. So yeah, work hard and work hard with other people and support one another. That's coming from someone who was really in all courses, EECS wise, above the minimum requirements without fellow MEng students in those courses, still spending a hell of a lot of time with other MEng students.
Great. Thank you, Pranay. Kai, we'll go to you. One last piece of advice.
Take advantage. Don't sit still. There's a lot going on. It will pass you by like the blink of an eye. You really don't want to be the person that just goes to class and does nothing else. Like, take advantage of all the resources. There's so much. There's so much you can do. So that's my advice.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Kai. Savita.
My advice is learn from the people around you, but also learn not to compare yourself with the people around you. Your experience in this program is going to be entirely unique to you and what you want, and you're going to get as much as you put in. So just have your own mission and just go. So yeah.
Love that. Thanks, Savita. And then Darshan.
Yeah, I think a few things, right? Like, I think one, like, I think as like you need to realize that you're more than like your resume, right? So like all of the interpersonal skills, like one of the last steps in any interview is like a strategic fit check, right? And I think like it is very, very important to have sort of like the right attitude going into the interview, right? Like companies will check for like, can I work with this person? Like apart from like even a technical skill, like can I hang out with this person over a coffee? So those skills are also important. And then the other thing I think like focus towards international students is more that I think you want to strategize over like what your job approach is going to be. And I think it's a little bit different than students with visas, wherein like you may want to prioritize, and this is just like me, right? I feel like this may be like broadly bad advice, but you may want to focus on like the broader industry than like passion, right? So if you were to like, it's very cool to like get into startups. It's awesome, but note that you are taking on a risk every time you make these choices. It's hard for startups to sponsor visas. Startups go through a funding crunch. Guess what? They don't want to pay for the visa. So I would want you to like think about these things as you like go forward in your career path. It's rarely like an A/B choice where like, okay, this is what I want to do and I'm going to double down. Like evaluate that with the risk that like comes along with it to like pave the path forward. And yeah, that was it.
Sounds like great advice, Darshan. All right, so let's do a virtual round of applause for all of our panelists for today. So hopefully you can see how beneficial it is to really connect not only with current students, but alumni as well, and how passionate everybody is about supporting you all. So thank you all so much. I encourage you all to connect with them through LinkedIn or through email. Thank you for sharing your contact information for our audience for today. And then we're just closing out with some next steps. So you all should have access to our new admit page. Really make sure you bookmark that and take a look at all the information that we post there, which includes recordings of this session, the slides, and then all of the other sessions that we've done this week. So you can recap and review all of that. Any lingering questions, you can always email us at funginstitute@berkeley.edu. And again, there's the recap of our virtual visit week and connecting with affinity group leaders as well. So in addition to Savita and Kai, there are 28 other affinity group leaders that you can reach out to. So we really do encourage you to connect with them. And then the big day, April 15th, in a couple of weeks, deadline to respond to your offer of admission. So thank you all so much for joining from across the country and across the world. And feel free to connect with any of us as you have more questions. And we look forward to seeing you in the fall. See you all later.